Hey everybody, welcome to another video. As you can see, we got the bikes loaded up here. If you missed last video, I took delivery of my KX450XC over there, 2021, and then we have my brother's KX140L. Today is gonna be the first ride on the bike, so we got them loaded up. Let's go ahead and get on the road. So if you're new to the channel, my name is Jeff, and I have a few interesting toys on the channel. But today, like I said, we're going on the first ride with the 2021 KX450XC. This is the actual first ride, so it needs a little bit of braking. In terms of braking, I usually think ride it how you're gonna ride it, and that's it. So in the beginning of the video here, we're gonna go to some dirt roads around here, which is the nice thing about Oregon. There's lots of terrain to ride on. That's gonna be a brief segment, get it heat cycled, run it through the gears, get some different loads on the engine, and then after that in this video, we're gonna hit the trails. So let's go ahead, get to these roads, break in the KX a little bit, and then we'll be off to the trails. Okay, first ride, let's go. So how is it? So far, pretty good. Like I said, we're just breaking it in right now. Haven't gotten on it a bunch, but it's obviously a lot stiffer than the 351, so. I'm barely getting onto it, and it just goes. Okay everybody, new day here, and the KX is ready to rip. We got my brother's 140, the KLX here. Not sure if my dad's gonna hop on that one with us today, but break-in is a go. As you can see, we are at Riverdale MX Park. They have some flat tracks, of course MX tracks, and I think they have some trails too. So let's go ahead, get geared up, and I'll see you guys on the bike. Man, I am excited. All right, let's start it up. Man, she sounds good. So we are using the black coupler, which is meant for hard pack. Let's go ahead and hop on the bike. Here we go. Yes! That is awesome. So I think they have some dirt track stuff here. Oh yeah, she goes. Need to take some air out of these tires. Alright, let's go ahead and try this track out. One thing I'm noticing off the bat is the throttle's pretty twitchy and has a really light pull, which is pretty nice. The twitchy part, it'll take some getting used to, but the throttle response is just there and ready. Just film right here, I'm gonna get a launch.
Using a launch control?
Yep. Alright guys, we're gonna try a little bit of a launch. Whoa! Way better of a launch. Trying to rip pretty hard for you guys. Couple initial thoughts. Of course, the power, it's there. You know, this is my main dirt bike here, KX450 with the big bore. That has a big torque punch, but this, it punches you and it just keeps going. It doesn't stop. Like I said a bit earlier, the throttle is a bit twitchy, has a pretty light pull too. Move my helmet. So going over some of those bumps, you kind of get a little bit of whiskey throttle. It's not like it's uncontrollable, but it is there. The ratio of the transmission, yeah, it's closer than the KX, but it definitely is pretty wide for this stuff. Like I said, I'm barely getting out of second gear. I try to get on it, but those tires too, they just hook up. By that time, you're already to the next corner. I'm not hitting the jumps here. Obviously don't have my boots on. Even with the spacing of these jumps here, you might get into third, maybe fourth, but the way I'm riding it, coming from a trail enduro experience, it's a pretty wide ratio. So the suspension, the XC, when it was released, it was supposed to have softer suspension than the 450. As you can see here from the dust, here's some of the front shock travel that we're getting. We're definitely doing pretty good there. The suspension is stiff. Do not mistaken the XC for having soft suspension because it's an enduro bike, cross-country bike, and that the regular 450 is going to have the stiff suspension. This is still great suspension with the Showa kit up front. I have not touched the suspension settings whatsoever in the rear. Preload, compression, rebound, same up front. No compression or rebound adjustment up here. But man, so far, I'm loving the bike. It gets going. It's a lot of fun. Still getting used to it. As you can see, this is the very first ride on this KX450XC where I'm actually able to push it, not just ride around dirt roads, putt around, because when you get on it, it goes. All right guys, let's talk about the power here. The power on this thing, I mean, you guys, if you've been following the channel, I have the KLX. It's all modded out, big bore, all that good stuff. But this thing, like, you get hit with an initial torque punch, then after that, it keeps pulling all the way to red line. No power drop-offs. I mean, if you're full throttle, you barely have time to think to even notice the drop-off in power. The KLX has a lot, but man, this thing, the KXs make about like 52, 53, something like that. Watch this. It just goes. So power, like I was saying, you get an initial torque hit and then it just keeps pulling. It doesn't really stop at all getting the red line. So while we're on the subject of power here, of course it has a lot of it, but the gearing on the XC, I've ridden my friend's CR250 and you're shifting that thing a lot. On the XC here, people initially were saying, yeah, it's close ratio, all that. Most of these tracks, I'm running in second gear. And I'm not even getting to rev it out. Let's go back to the truck here because I'm sure my brother wants to get on this thing. So people, when they're initially making their videos about this, their reactions to it, they were saying, oh, it's a good first step for Kawasaki. It's not exactly what we wanted, but yeah, it might not have a 6-speed like some of the Hondas and the Yamahas, but this 5-speed sure is getting the job done, and I tell you what. So the transmission, it does pretty good job actually. Actually, dare I say it, for some of these trails, since I'm thinking of this as a dedicated off-road bike, it's actually a little too long. So there's kind of a myth busted right there. The gears are actually pretty far apart, at least 1, 2, 3 for the trails and whatnot. So myth number 2 about this bike, I touched on it a little bit earlier, the suspension. Initially people thought that it was just going to be some super soft suspension, but I can tell you that the suspension is actually pretty stiff. You can probably kind of tell that in my voice, how my voice is shaking around a bit. The suspension is pretty stiff. But for these jumps and whatnot that I'm hitting, it soaks them up very well. But yeah, that's kind of another myth busted about the KX450XC here. The suspension is not super soft. So those were the 2 big myths: soft suspension and the close ratio transmission. It is actually a semi-wide ratio. We'll get another run so you can see that, but this is first gear. Second, third. The suspension is pretty stiff. Jeez, I have to say, Kawasaki, you did a smashing job on this thing. I want an enduro bike or cross-country bike. I want it to be lightweight. I want to be able to cruise the desert floor. I want those bumps to be soaked up, but if I am going over jumps, I want to be able to be confident that I'm not gonna chatter my teeth out. The power comes on smooth. Jeez, that just gets going so quick. I'm not sure if we were even going fast, but it is going so quickly. Oh, jeez. Can't wait to take this thing to the dunes, because I bet this is gonna be the perfect dunes bike. got it. Stand up. There you go. That is a good sounding bike. Okay, everybody, back home here. Got the bike, still got to wash it. And as you can see, the scenery here has changed. That's the sun up there. We have a whole bunch of smoke from the forest fires here. So that is gonna do it for the first ride here. Like I said, very first ride, getting used to the bike, and I can say that Kawasaki built very fantastic machine here. We will have a lot of content coming. Of course, we'll have a review after I've actually ridden the bike more. But a few myths were busted about the XC, the suspension, and close ratio transmission. Gears 1, 2, and 3 are actually pretty wide, and the suspension is actually pretty stiff. Once the smoke clears and the forest fires settle down here, we will be taking the KX to the trails. But that is going to do it for today's video. If you enjoyed, be sure to give it a big thumbs up. Also, share it to your friends and those who may enjoy it. And of course, if you're not subscribed, go down there, hit that subscribe button, get the bell on, keep up with all the KX action here. Of course, leave a comment down below what you think about the KX, what you want to see with the bike. But with all that being said, join the club, and I'll see you in the next one.
I'm the motherfucker.